blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Konnichiwa, and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode number 60. Brock couldn't even hold it in for one word. This is the episode for the week of, June 4th. And this is our all anime and manga episode, also known as the episode Brock will not participate in. Because he only likes white people. So.
Is there a lot of white people in anime? Or are they really pasty?
ですけどね、僕の友達は本当にかっこいいですよ。そしてね、大丈夫。ブラックさん、かっこいいね。
Wow. I should have had you do the opening.
It's all good.
What's up?
Yo, yo.
All right, so...
I'm going to kill you once I know what that says.
You're fucking very cool for a white guy.
We normally, on this podcast, talk about comic books and cartoons. However, this week we're doing something a little bit different. We're talking about comic books and cartoons from a country called Japan that some of you may have heard of. Comic books and cartoons are Japanese anime and manga. I mean, it's all the same things. And we've talked about some anime and manga occasionally, but very rarely. We usually focus on the U.S. stuff.
Mm-hmm. But even a lot of the American cartoons and stuff go away to the animation studios overseas.
Right. The lines these days are definitely blurring between a lot of manga and anime and American stuff. But, and we have things like Thundercats. Oh, we'll get to all that, though.
X-Men, Iron Man,
produced by Gonzo.
Wolverine.
But let me start by introducing our casting crew here today. First, we have the wandering assassin with the long red hair to my left. His name is Brock Sager.
When the hell did I get long red hair again?
Well, it's growing.
Yeah, this is true.
It'll come back.
Maybe somewhere else where you didn't think of.
Next, we have the rubbery, stretchy pirate of the Seven Seas with the great straw hat. With the really long arms. Actually, the arms aren't that long, but I don't know. I just thought it was
something.
It just worked. Hey now.
僕はオマ様です。どうぞよろしく。
And that is Omar Brodrick. Next, we have the young boy inhabited by the spirit of the nine-tailed fox. That would be Toby Sidler.
Hello.
Toby, say hello. Down the far end of the table, we have the largest super robot on Earth. Charlie West.
Hello.
Down the very far end, special guest this week. He is the man that when he gets hit with water, he turns into a giant lovable panda. And that is Lane Terasaki? Terasaki, there you go. I'm terrible at last names.
That sounds like an alcoholic beverage.
Polish,
Terasaki, there you go. And
They think you're
Sake
Polish?
is alcoholic beverage.
How?
They say it's Tarosky.
Terasaki.
And of course, I am the...
Terasaki. That's my new name for you now.
Terasaki.
Terasaki.
And of course,
Terasaki.
I am the young boy who gets the super powerful, ultra new special weapon, the special giant robot to fly around in and fight the bad guys. Because I'm awesome like that. I'm Ryan Higgins. And we're here for our awesome anime and manga episode. That was...
Is it just me or does he stroke his ego a lot on this show?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Well, someone needs to.
Hey now. Hey. If someone's going to drive the flying giant mecha robot Gundam, who is it going to be here? It's going to be me. Okay, come on. Let's figure this out. Okay.
You couldn't even read the instructions.
That is true.
So just press buttons randomly and blow up half the
Wait,
city.
the guy who didn't actually drive a car till like a couple of years ago is going to drive the giant mecha?
But here's the great thing about the kids. They just get in the machine and they automatically know how it works, and they're instantly the greatest at it. They don't need to read the instructions. That's how it works, because they were destined by fate in order to take control.
But even though those kids have round eyes, they're actually Japanese, and you're white.
Yeah, but...
And you drive worse than an Asian person.
Hey, I drive okay. So we're here for our wonderful episode of Manga and Anime. And
So wait. So technically, you fan serviced yourself
sure,
just now?
Sure.
Okay.
That works.
No, I don't want to see Ryan fan servicing anybody. I'm sorry.
I want to be fan serviced.
Not by Ryan. I'm sorry, Brock. I think you don't quite understand the thing about fan servicing just quite yet. I think we need to educate you.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you want to see that from Ryan. Or maybe you do.
I don't.
Maybe that's your thing. I don't know.
I was asking.
Maybe you do.
Because I didn't know. That's why I was asking. That's part of the reason I'm here today. Even though you didn't want me here, Higgins.
Of course I
go
want
away,
you.
Brock.
Of course I want you
You don't know
here.
shit about shit. Leave.
Of course I want you here. Actually, no. we want all of us here because we all have some various and different opinions on stuff, and it'd be fun to talk about this type of stuff. So, for those that listen to our normal episodes, like I said, we usually talk about American comic books and anime. However, I feel that a lot of the stuff and some of the books and cartoons we'll talk about today is totally stuff that fans of American comic books and cartoons should be into, and I kind of there's sometimes a weird separation, like you're only into manga and anime, or you're only into American comic books, and I don't quite get why someone wouldn't be interested in the others, even if it's just something from another country. You know, there's plenty of European cartoons and comics that come over here and movies, and people enjoy them. So I some of the stuff I want to discuss today is kind of breaking down those barriers, if we will. And Brock, I know you're probably the least...
You are the horrible person to break down the barriers, but keep going.
Well, what I'm saying is, of all of us here, you're probably the least... You've not read much manga or seen a little anime, but one of the things we've done in this podcast before, and we have new people here, and Lane will get to you probably at the end, is discuss our secret origin of where we came from in comic books, kind of what we've done. But I want to hear from all of us what our secret origin is for anime and manga. So what's your story? You've read a few things. You've seen a few things. Kind of what's your take? What's your history?
I haven't really read too much manga.
Okay.
I'm more for anime. It's more of kind of the mainstream stuff like Akira, Princess Mononoke. I've seen Ghost in the Shell. You know, it's more of the mainstream stuff. I do randomly own a copy of Wicked City, and I've seen that. That's pretty fucking whack.
I wonder why.
It was a recommendation from an old coworker of mine. So, I mean, I've seen a little bit. I'm not gung ho to watch it.
Sure,
but it's not like it's something that I'm like, oh no, I can't watch that because it's
but you've
across the Pacific, and didn't we bomb them?
But we've talked about comic books or cartoons in the past, and you're just in general not a huge cartoon fan.
Yeah.
So that probably has a lot to
Well,
do.
I like cartoons, but it's again one of those things I don't go after. It's like I already have a lot of enjoyment, things like comics and movies and music and literature and stuff. So adding on something else is just adding on something else. I mean, for you, it's like, why don't you read this book? Well, because I already have the games and the comics and the movies, and so. But I mean, I'm always down to see stuff if it piques my interest and I'm engaged at the time and going, oh, so I'll
There's
check
a
this
line
out.
called hentai. I think you'd be very interested in it. If you like Wicked City, there's a whole line of cartoons to watch.
Is it just different types of
There's all kinds
Puhas?
of different kinds.
I think actually Brock would be more into yaoi.
Brock. Yeah, the yaoi stuff, especially for Brock.
Okay, see, this is the education part that we're talking about for the podcast. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I think you just
jeez.
you just need to see it. I think you just need to look it up on the internet and watch the first thing that comes along.
Charlie, let's hear from you.
No, I'm not surfacing Charlie.
Okay, so my secret origin's probably a very, very standard secret origin for this. I had some friends that showed me like the original Bubblegum Crisis and Ghost in the Shell and that kind of stuff, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't really until Cartoon Network started picking up the different series and putting them on Toonami, and then Adult Swim picked up some, and that's when I really started getting into like the actual ongoing, like more than just the OVAs and movies, and actually started really looking at the different series and getting into more and more to actually just buying DVDs randomly and watching lots of different stuff.
You seem like the person that would do the Best Buy, Fry's, big discount DVD purchase of all their... when they were still, like, coming out in, like, the single discs and when they were all over Best Buy. And...
I used to go crazy at Fry's every week, just wandering their anime aisle going, what looks interesting? I need a new series. I finished this one.
Yeah. I guess I'll go next because we have 3 real-life Asian people here, so you guys can tell us. And two of, and I'm actually not sure about Lane. They didn't actually grow up like in the U.S. proper, because you grew up in, you spent time in Hawaii. You grew up in Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
Right,
I mean, half and half. My mom was,
my mom was
in Hawaii.
And I actually don't. So we'll save Lane to the end. He's the wild card. He may just be totally American-born, but I don't know. We'll find out. I had a not totally dissimilar from you, Charlie. I didn't get into a lot of the Toonami Cartoon Network stuff. I mean, a little bit, but I started a little bit younger. with Ranma 1/2 actually when they were coming out, when Viz was putting out the comics, because I actually did buy a lot of the Viz comic books. In Japan, they come out in the big, the big fat weekly anthology series, but in America, they actually put out a lot of the comic books just as individual monthly comic books, like here, 32 pages. So I was reading a lot of the ones that Viz was putting out when they first started. What was that, like 91, 92? So it was early on in my comic book buying days that I was reading a few of them, and Ranma was the one that I really gravitated to the most, being a comedy. And I picked up a lot of the collected editions, and I remember buying some like the fan subs for like $40 because it was like, I want the Japanese versions. I don't want these dubbed versions, because you couldn't get them in Japanese here. They were English only.
Well, it wasn't really till DVDs that they started having you can watch it dubbed or subtitled. Or
there were some that were starting to come out subtitled, but most of them are still dub only. But I did watch a couple things on TV, but not a ton. Most of mine came from the comic books, and then later when DVD came out, that's when I got really into it as far as the anime. But I think, like Brock said, probably the biggest have been the Miyazaki movies and the Studio Ghibli movies and things like Princess Mononoke. And, I mean, really, that pushed me, stuff like Akira and Ghost in the Shell. I mean, I'd seen all those, but the Miyazaki movies are what really, really got me into it, because it was better than just the standard, the standard stuff. So, but now
they were also using voice actors that from America that we were more used to.
Well, they were more professionally done. I mean, a lot of the anime is dubbed in English by 5 guys, and it's really, a lot of it's not very professional. But these were like full on. I think Disney did a lot of it. Yeah. Neil Gaiman wrote the script, especially for Princess Mononoke. They got actual American voice actors and actual American actors to do all the American stuff. So the quality was just real high. So, what's Omar? What's your story?
Well, for me, I was like 10, I think, when I was watching G-Force and Robotech.
See, I actually meant to say that. Stuff like Voltron, Robotech, I kind of missed the boat on all those. Yeah. I've seen a lot of them now, but it was weird that I know so many people got in like through Star Blazers and things like that, but I don't know if... I just didn't see any of that stuff on TV. And stuff like Voltron, I had seen maybe a couple episodes of, but I didn't watch it. Yeah. So I guess also the second question is, what's the first thing you knew was anime? And I mean, for me, it'd be Ranma. I mean, I'm sure I saw other stuff beforehand. I meant to actually say this when we started. Charlie, do you know? Like, what was the first thing you saw that you knew was like, this is Japanese animation, not just it's cartoon on TV?
It was probably the original Bubblegum Crisis, because that's how it was introduced to me. But yeah, if you want to get technical, I was watching all sorts of random stuff growing up. So
but
it was all just Saturday morning cartoons to me.
No, exactly. No, and for me, I didn't realize it was anime. I mean, I grew up in fucking Brisbane. It's like all white town. I was the Asian kid. I mean, I was the ethnic kid. I was like the black kid. My name was Omar. I didn't have a license plate, on my name for my keychain and everything, So for me, I thought everyone was the same color. When you're young, you don't see that shit. Yeah. It's not until you get older and you start to
start to hate.
Yeah, peer pressure and all that shit, and then you realize your dick's smaller than other people's and shit like that. So I don't know. Not me, another friend. So I would say that technically the first anime, I was like, oh shit, this is anime. Definitely was Akira.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's for a lot of people. Yeah. Just because that shit, when you're watching it, you're like, holy motherfucking God. Well, this is like a real story. This is not just a cartoon. This is like a movie. This is a cinematic experience.
I mean, I saw Akira when I was pretty young, and that movie, I mean, will forever F you up if you're 12, 13 years old and you see that movie without knowing kind of what you're getting into.
For sure. I mean, this was like at a little family get-together, my stepmom's cousin's house, Robert and Ron. They were awesome because they always had the hippest shit. It was actually Japanese, but it was dubbed.
Because
It came out here, I think, like maybe 99 or 2000. But it's from Hong Kong.
I didn't see the subtitle version till many years later.
Yeah. So they're like, Omar, check this out. We got the hot shit. This is after playing pool with them upstairs. These are my cool cousins, and everything. And then we watched it. And I was sitting down, and then some of the parents come in because the kids watch the kids at all these family parties. Where I was watching, I was like seeing all this stuff that I didn't comprehend or understand. I was like, whoa, blown away. And then after that, I was like, man, this is incredible. What other stuff should I watch? And then, they hooked me onto like Dagger of Kamui. That came out in 95. To date is still one of my top maybe top 7 anime ever that I've watched. I watched tons of that stuff. Continued on, watched a bunch of the series, a lot of the ones you guys named. The ones that probably stick with me the most, though, are the ones that kind of like in my later, probably like in 2001 through 2005, definitely like Furikuri, because it was just so fucking fun. And for any of you that are like Brian O'Malley fans, like watch that, because you'll see a lot of the influence of some of the characters and just the use of music and everything. And then to follow, definitely Samurai Champloo or Samurai Sample, and it was just straight hip hop in the Edo period. Incredible. You know, b-boying, had graffiti in your noodles and all this shit. So it was just incredible visualization and just blew your mind. So,
Toby, now you have the story I wanted to hear the most, because you actually grew up over in Europe, who actually got a shitload of anime.
Maybe not. Actually,
okay. Yeah. I was under the impression that Europe got a whole lot of anime, especially like in the 80s, but maybe
no,
that's...
I think it started when I was 12, 13, which is in the 90s, really. That's when they started getting them.
Okay.
And it was like the first batch that the Americans got, too. It's the same, the Wicked City, the same batch. It's the same batch of what started here, just maybe a little sooner. But, I mean, I grew up watching anime not knowing it's anime.
Well, that's what I meant, right? Yeah. I mean, they had a lot. Europe had a lot of anime that got shown. That again, it just got shown with everything else. It wasn't like this is anime. It just got shown on Saturday morning. We had a few in the U.S., but
not really.
No. I thought there was a lot over there. I thought it got more, I should say, than here.
Well, maybe 1 or 2, but not really.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I mean, like I said, I have a Chinese mom. Let's get that out of the way first.
Yeah.
My dad worked in Japan a lot, so that's. I mean, I lived in Japan. I did kindergarten in Japan. I did kindergarten or first grade in Taiwan. So I grew up watching these cartoons, not knowing they're anime. To me, they're just cartoons I grew up watching. So, you know, I was early on really ingrained in it. And I think the first European anime, and I didn't know it at the time, it was D'Artagnan and the Musketeers, which is the 3 Musketeers, but they were all dogs. And it was really cool. And he had like a little mouse sidekick, and I loved that cartoon. I mean, I remember I had chopsticks with the D'Artagnan on it, and it was like my favorite freaking chopsticks ever. I was like, yeah, I still have them somewhere, actually. But, you know, I grew up not knowing there were anime. I mean, I grew up with, you know, Battleship Yamato, which, you know, nice. Star Blazer. You know, I grew up not knowing it's Star Blazer, you know. I watched the Voltron. I love Doraemon. You know, that's huge with me. That's big time, you know, part of my childhood. He's kind of like equivalent to the American Mickey Mouse. He's huge over there, right? Monkey King cartoons, there's like 3 different ones I grew up with mainly, you know. And yeah, the D'Artagnan ones. So there's like those were like early childhood, barely remember kind of cartoons I used to watch, you know, except for Doraemon, which I watched later on too, you know. Then I kind of got into like the Sentai Heroes and the Metal Heroes, which is the live action Power Rangers and Metal guys.
Hentai Heroes?
Sentai.
Oh, got it.
Sentai.
Well, yeah. And that's something that the Sentai stuff never made it over here, with the exception of Power Rangers.
Yeah,
there's a ton of that.
Which was really a butchered version.
Right.
Like, they took the action sequence, but they refilmed all the... when they're not in the mask thing.
Yeah, so. I mean, and those Sentai shows...
and they go back. I mean, for the ones that grew up on the American ones, they go back far
Tokusatsu.
Back. Yeah,
Tokusatsu's like the giant, like the big monster type things, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of like Japanese superheroes.
It is basically what it is.
Costume, Kamen Rider, things like that.
Yeah, Kamen Rider, you know, Ultraman. You know, right. Ultraman is another one.
Oh, yeah, Ultraman made it.
I mean, I watched it as a kid, not knowing, you know, that it's Japanese and all that stuff. I just watched it. It was like crazy giant dude fighting giant monsters and shit is just crashing everywhere.
Yeah.
And some of it was kind of scary, too. There's like this gorilla episode that scared me half Jeezer. But, yeah, the Sentai Hero stuff I really enjoyed, you know, as a kid. You know, I got into Lifeman and Fifeman, Winspector, you know, stuff like that. Then I kind of got back into anime. Also, at that point, I was more in Europe again. And, well, I think maybe, you may think of, like, France. They had a lot of anime.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have a lot in Switzerland.
Okay.
So what I did was I had to watch the French channel to watch my anime. Huh. So I never understood a word of it. But I was like, hey, this channel is playing all these cartoons that I like. as a kid, but they're not playing them in German, so I had to watch them in French. So the French had this kind of like a Disney club in the afternoon, but it's called Club Dorothée, which is, couple girls and guys singing, dancing, and then they go, oh, now it's time for a cartoon, and it'd be stuff like, Fist of the North Star and Saint Seiya.
Fist of the North Star, not appropriate for children, people.
But here's the thing. I tell you right now, I watched all of that stuff not thinking it was violent.
Oh, of course.
I didn't think twice about it.
Kids don't know what a donkey punch is.
Well, like Saint Seiya, I mean, Fist of the North Star is pretty violent, but Saint Seiya, these guys are fighting, punching each other in the chest. The one dude is grabbing the dude's heart and squeezing the life out of it. I was like, you just watch it go, holy shit. Crazy shit is happening. Blood is all over the ground. You're just like, oh, bad shit is happening. He's losing the battle. Oh, well,
I think some of that, when they showed it here, they censored the hell out of it. Or like Fist of the North Star.
I'll get back to it. Yeah, well,
didn't they recolor everything?
No, it was
Saint
Saint Seiya. Saint Seiya actually that tried to bring it to Cartoon Network after the big Dragon Ball push.
Yeah,
and they colored the blood green and they colored like the inner essence flowing out and stuff. And it was horrible. But, at the time, Saint Seiya, when I grew up, Saint Seiya was actually bigger than Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball was on its way up. It was like between Saint Seiya and Dragon Ball were like the two big cartoons. And this is like, 7, 8? 9 at the most, yeah. They also, the same Club Dorothée was also showing, amazingly, Superboy, the live-action series, too. So,
wow.
In French. Everything in French. I watched a whole lot of stuff in French and didn't understand, so I make up my own stories. And later on, I watched dub or subtitle version and realized it wasn't as cool as I thought it was. And there was at that point, there was a cartoon, kind of like Cartoon Network channel in Germany called, I think, Tele 5 it was called, and they had a bunch of cartoons. They started showing the Voltron stuff again. They started showing, the He-Man stuff over, and then they had a cartoon called Saber Rider, which I really like too, which is another, anime, which, was kind of disguised as a regular cartoon kind of thing.
I think you listed off like 40 titles.
Yeah,
when I was saying like, oh, I didn't really get this stuff in Europe. Yes, you did.
In Switzerland, I didn't. But the French channel had them all. And sure. Astro Boy. I mean, that's another one I was ingrained in my childhood stuff too. But that's all in Europe. So. It was not until like maybe it was 12, 13, the video game magazine started talking about anime. They actually gave it a term. Well, I have to take notes, but it's too much to cover.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
you came prepared.
I have to, man. Actually, I just did it right here while you were talking, so I'm not so prepared.
Good shit.
But the video game magazines just started talking about this thing called anime, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Oh, it's the cartoons I used to watch. So they categorized it for me for the first time. When I was like 12 or 13, I realized, oh, that's what this is. For me, it was always like one giant thing. Like, it's all the same to me. I'm like He-Man and Astro Boy was a cartoon. I didn't categorize as that's different than the other up until that time. And that's when they started bringing the slew of like Wicked City and I don't know, 3x3 Eyes, I think wasn't that. And it's just like the early slew of like big anime that they were bringing over. And that's when I was like, 14, 15, and then I moved to the States. And when I was in the States, there's a lot to cover.
Damn, bro.
In the States, I started working after I started learning English. Eventually, I started working at a comic book store, down the street from here. And there's a guy named Steve in there, and he was really into anime. So me and him really got along because he was really into it. He watched a lot of the fan sub stuff. He was always into like some old school Macross. He was into the Gundam stuff, and I think that's when they're trying to do the whole Gundam Wing thing, or maybe a little later. But I knew all the obscure ones that he knew about, and like I loved City Hunter and stuff like that. Slam Dunk that never made it over here. He knew all about, so he was cool in my book. But that's me and him kind of ran the anime stuff at the comic book store. Like he was the main guy, and then later on it kind of took over ordering all the stuff, and that's when Cowboy Bebop came out on like VHS.
Yeah.
2 episodes on one tape. Just imagine how many tapes that is when you collect the entire series.
Well, this is a common problem. You said all the fan sub stuff, and look, when I was buying those Ranma, those were from Legends, the store you used to work at. They were like $40 on fan sub for 2 episodes. And you think about these days, you go on Crunchyroll, you go on Demonoid or whatever, and you get the fan stuff now, and they're everywhere.
Back in the day, you got clubs that were just like duping their own like VHSs, like their stuff in. Yeah.
If I knew people that were in anime clubs, but I was still back east when a lot of this started, and then when I moved out here, it probably would have been easier here because more Japanese people here and more interest in this area than small town Massachusetts. But
yeah,
you could just say slanty eyes, bro. I know you want to say that. I looked at your lips.
Okay.
He said slanty eyes.
Had I known that these things were even around, who knows where I'd be today? Because I would have been knee deep in right? trading tapes. Like I would have done that in a heartbeat. So
collecting like you Pokemon.
Oh,
I'll trade you this tape for that tape.
Well, I mean that's what people did, right?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
talking 12 generations of people trading tapes because like
and the quality goes lower and lower each time you make a copy.
Well, the stories always go. Someone knows a friend that lives in Japan, and they get a tape of stuff, just 8-hour tape of an SP or whatever, just recorded. Doesn't matter what it is, and then it's traded between people. Then someone fan subs it, and then it's traded back and forth.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like, ugh.
Well, my dad used to bring me like just videotapes back of shows he just records on TV, and I loved them. I watched them over and over and over and over, and the commercials are really funny too. Actually, I really like watching commercials even on it.
Can I just like jump in there really quick?
Yeah.
I want to just say props for bringing up Cowboy Bebop because that I think was like a game changer.
That
right
for
there?
the American states, I think so. Yeah,
What that did was it introduced like Charlie Parker, like all of these jazz classics to kids.
Yeah. No,
and these kids ended up loving jazz. Just like there's definitely a lot of parents.
Yoko Ono did the soundtrack to that stuff. Yeah. But there's one scene. I mean, we had TVs at Legends, and me and Steve used to play anime there. And there's this one scene. I think it's episode 5, is when the one dude pulls his gun, and the other guy has a sword against his neck. I could tell it. The entire store froze. I mean, the entire store froze and watched that scene and how they were like falling through like the window and falling. I mean, the entire store. I mean, I was ringing someone up in the middle of it. They were all just turned their heads and froze and like stared at the TV screen. It was a fantastic show.
And I know we've talked about fan subs a lot. I would say Cowboy Bebop also has one of the best dubs I've ever encountered.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, and that's like Outlaw Star was at the time, and I think before that I collected the Fatal Fury, video game adaptations. And then eventually, kind of got. Oh no, actually, that's a slew of other ones. Fruit Basket.
Well, leave something for Lane.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
What's that? What's that? Samurai Kenshin. Kenshin was a huge one after that.
I think that's like
Rurouni Kenshin.
Yeah, Rurouni Kenshin was a long one. Gundam Wing was there. Gundam, the one after one. Was it called
there's tons of Gundams.
Yeah.
So, Lane, let's hear from you.
Finally.
So I actually don't know you are Asian, but I don't know your full background and where you're from. So let's
He's a Japo.
let's hear it.
Born and raised in the Bay Area.
Okay, you ruined it. You ruined. I thought you were gonna have like wise wisdom for me, but you're just an American.
Just American.
No, your parents born here, or
Yes, both parents are born here.
man?
What generation are you?
Second generation.
Was 3 parts fourth and 1 part third.
Holy shit!
So disappointed. So you're as bad as this Brock guy. Like, you're as white as this guy.
I mean, my
speaks more Japanese than Lei does.
Oh yeah,
like my grandma was like firebombed in Tokyo. So yeah, so easy on the firebomb jokes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Well, Lane,
Unless it's
To your grandmother.
gas from
Toby, you have to have a microphone in front of you if you're talking. Thank you. So, Lane, you actually have gone to Fanime for a long time, which I didn't even say this earlier. 2 weekends ago was Fanime, which is a anime convention in San Jose, and half the reason we're doing this episode this week is to kind of also talk about Fanime. But that'd be fun to introduce and talk about a lot of other anime stuff too. But you've actually been going to Fanime for a long time as well, so you've been kind of in the anime and manga scene. I know you said you haven't been.
I've been to Fanime about 12 years now, but
yeah.
I'm not really that far into the anime scene.
But you know what I mean. I mean, you've gone to like AX, I think,
Yes,
haven't you? And
a couple times.
You're probably a little more into this than us. Although I know you said you haven't caught up on a lot of recent stuff. But so let's hear your history.
Origin? Okay.
Yeah. What's your origin?
I guess the oldest thing I can think of is when I was like 4. I used to watch a TV show, which barely anybody remembers. It's called Combination Go. It was a Japanese show which kind of was like a mishmash. It featured 5 cars that would combine into one, so it was a lot like Voltron, but they were based out of the battleship Yamato.
Huh.
So it's a kind of a weird amalgamation.
Oh, that's dope.
It didn't last very long, and this was mostly in Japanese, so I couldn't understand what the hell they were saying.
How did you watch it?
I was like 4, so my mom would turn TV on and just put me in front. That was
Well, I
it.
was just curious if it was just on normal television, if it was on
TV.
tape, or...
TV. And then that got me into like Star Blazers and all that. Saber Rider, like Toby. All the regular cartoons that were on TV. And then probably the biggest thing that turned me into anime would be like Bubblegum Crisis when I found that.
Nice.
And Akira was the first 2 big time where you realized this isn't a cartoon.
Yeah.
I sort of had that first group. You have your Yamato, your Star Blazers. You have kind of that group in the 70s, and then you sort of get like the late 80s Akira, and then you kind of get the 90s with the Dragon Ball, and then you kind of get like the more recent stuff. There's been like 3 or 4 big time periods where people have sort of entered anime, and it's like people always seem to fall into one of those groups, at least in the U.S. Because there's always been these kind of big pushes about every 5 years to get new stuff here. So
Yeah. I have nothing else. I mean, I don't have much of a special origin.
Ow! You ramble on for 20 minutes like Toby. I want to hear.
Well,
No, that's cool. But I mean, so there's been lots of shows. I mean, these days, how much stuff are you watching? Are you watching like a lot of current stuff on TV, or are you still just kind of
not really.
old
I've
stuff?
been so busy with like work and other things that I don't watch much TV. I try not to because it distracts me.
Yeah. Damn.
I mean, I buy like Charlie. I buy box sets every now and then. Keep up with certain sets or series that I like, but kind of behind at the moment. Probably about 5 years behind.
Oh, jeez.
What are like the shows, like 3 of the shows that really like stood out to you, like after from? I mean, because Akira is such a long time ago. Like, what are some like that was what?
Well,
86. It's really old.
Ah, jeez. No, it's like late kind of late 80s, early 90s. Well, at the end of the episode, we're actually going to... I want to each kind of recommend something, so
okay.
we'll do that at the end. But that actually... We can go into talking about Fanime for a little bit here, because, again, you've set up there, and you've been in the press room... Or the... not the dealer room, the
Artist Alley.
The Artist Alley for a long time, and you know a lot of the people there and stuff. Me and... I went. Toby attempted to go, which we can get into that.
I tried so hard.
Yeah, we can get into that. But tell us a little bit about Fanime, since I know you've been around there for a long time.
Well, for the most part, I've only been in the Artist Alley. I'm part of an art group called BAAU, or BAU, Bay Area Artists Unite, and it's kind of just a amateur art group. There's no requirements. You could draw stick figures for all we care, and we just try to have fun, and every year we get together and we publish an anthology book of art from all our members. And Fanime is more or less our big push to sell the book. It started off as just a project. A lot of members wanted to say, hey, I want to be published. And this is kind of a little experiment in that order. And this year we just did our 11th book.
Oh wow,
Nice.
that's impressive.
Lane here also did covers for it, too. Was it last year? Last year you did covers?
2 years ago I did one cover. Yeah.
That was the dog one, right?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Well, the dog is our mascot.
Oh, is it now?
It's the mascot of the club.
What? How many more? You guys think you're going to keep doing this, or is this something you guys get more members every year, or
We haven't gotten as many members recently.
it's that deviant art? I bet taking them all away.
I think it's more that a lot of members. Well, we keep losing members, gaining members. They go off to college, they go off to high school, they go. They get busy. They go off to jobs. Some
Is it
come
more
back.
like high school, college age mostly, or?
It ranges. We've had members start as young as 8.
Wow.
All the way up to we have we have members older than all of us here.
Yeah.
So it varies, but we lose members, we gain members. Some of it's just commitment time. They don't want to commit to drawing, or artists are naturally lazy. They will not finish no matter what deadline you give them.
Sure.
So a lot of it just comes down to that. It's just pushing.
Now,
But we're going to keep doing it.
cool. Now with Fanime, 12 years would put that around the time it's currently at the San Jose Convention Center. And I think the estimate's about 20,000 people this year.
Yes.
Roughly. 12 years would put that Foothill.
When I started, it was at the Santa Clara Convention Center.
Okay, so that was probably like the first year at the Santa Clara Convention Center or so.
Quite possibly,
because it was there for a few. It was at Foothill College, and then I believe it went there, and then because I think I went once when it was at Foothill, because I remember going there, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I've never been to Foothill.
I think but that was like, a couple thousand people, if 2,000 people, if that. It was still really small. And then, so Santa Clara Convention Center, I think by the end it got like maybe like 5,000 or 6,000 people, maybe. Even if
don't
that.
think that many. I think like maybe 800 at most.
Really? I thought it was more than that there.
No, it was really small.
Oh, wow.
Plus, it was spread through all the halls, or the artist alley, so it became kind of stretched, and people sometimes got lazy and didn't actually walk the whole way.
So between then and now, whether within the community or within the groups, what have you noticed? Like, what's changed? What's different? Or what's the same? I guess.
Well, Artist Alley, the biggest thing is it's become more of an attraction now. When we started, it wasn't much of a it was just kind of, here's a couple of artists that have their stuff.
Well, I was going to say, Artist Alley is bigger than the dealer room.
Yes.
It is huge there. It is ridiculous. I think they had something like 300
tables this year.
Yeah, 300?
Yep.
Wow.
Man.
It's nuts.
And actually, I was reading some of the forum notes. A lot of people said they probably spent more time in the Artist Alley than they ever did in the dealer's room this year.
Huh.
Just because there's so much to see.
As a dealer myself, I understand there's only 2 or 3 places to get stuff from in the United States. We don't have this huge, you see videos of people in Japan or in like the downtown areas, and there's like thousands of stores everywhere. Like, we just don't get access to a lot of that stuff here. So you kind of have 2 or 3 vendors to buy from, so everyone's stocking the same things.
Yeah. Well, everybody buys off Amazon or internet now, so
J-List.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
So people aren't buying as much in the dealer's room either. But yeah, a lot of it's just, I think it's shifted in favor of the artists, actually.
Yeah.
People also appreciate the art more, and especially now with like, and it's also happening in comics, which is the idea of getting commissions, custom commissions. It's moving more toward that because they realize, hey, I can get a custom piece of artwork of characters I like only. I don't have to settle for what's retail.
What's the craziest commission you get?
Oh boy.
You got some good ones.
No, we saw you doing a Wonder Woman this year. Wonder Woman's not anime, dude. You gotta.
No.
What's happening?
There's people of all. They don't. It's not just anime there. So we have a lot of comic fans there too.
The 2 biggest things I saw at the anime convention, were, obviously My Little Pony, but was Homestuck,
Yes,
which is a webcomic, and what is the other one? Adventure Time.
Adventure Time.
Yeah. I saw more of that stuff than any manga or an anime character or anything.
This year, those were the 2 biggest items.
What's up, Omar?
Were there bronies in cosplay?
Oh yeah.
Are you serious?
No one does like the full pony costumes, or at least I didn't see any.
No.
But there's always the humanoid.
Yeah.
Pony.
They color themselves up.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, for an anime and manga convention, there's still a lot of American fandom there.
Oh yeah, and actually, those were probably also the biggest sellers as far as artwork. Like, a lot of people were mentioning the Artist Alley sold Adventure Time and Homestuck stuff more than anything else.
I saw a lot of Avengers stuff. I remember last year was Doctor Who. Everything was Doctor Who. This year, Avengers, I saw a lot too.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of it's hit or miss. It's a lot of the artists are guessing at what's going to sell, and you never know until you get there.
So, Toby, me and you went down on Thursday to try to get
we had a little adventure time on our own.
Yeah, we did. We tried to get our press passes.
Yes.
Lane, who is showing there, didn't need to.
Well, I kind of warned him. Well, I called him after our adventure time, and I called him up, and he goes, "I'm about to leave." I'm like, don't bother. We'll tell you why right now.
Yeah, downtown San Jose, the Thursday before the convention started, so this would have been the night before. They have tickets, so you can pick up your tickets there. Probably 90% of the people that go to Fanime pre-order them and buy them online, and they're members and everything, because at this point it's been running for so long. The power went out in the convention center and all the neighboring streets, and it's a little bit on the warm side, and there's 10,000 fanboys and fangirls and otaku boys and girls. I'm sorry, getting my US and Japanese insults mixed up, and some kind of no AC. It was a bit of a warm weekend.
People in costumes.
A lot of people in costumes. It was a bad time.
Yeah.
Me and Toby, and my friend Jeff, who does the website stuff, we drove around for like an hour trying to find parking.
It was kind of funny because we kept looking at the lights are not on. We're like, can't be that the convention center is out. That's not possible.
Well,
That's not possible.
It looked like there were some generator lights running.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it didn't look like it was without power, but when we got there, it was without power.
Yeah.
That's called emergency lighting.
Sure.
Yeah.
It even had blown the generator, so they were like running on like extreme emergency power. There was no power to the to print out the tickets. They were doing them manually. The press and pro room was completely shut down.
Yeah, the lines were not moving. You know,
No.
not at all. Yeah. I know it was warm as hell in there. It was like no air, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, so
Gotta give props to the people that stood in the line because I sure as hell couldn't. There's no way it could have.
well, got to give props to the people running the con too, because they could have had a riot on their hands. I mean, there was so many people there, and you just couldn't do anything about it. So
Yeah.
they were trying to process badges, but I mean that's not their fault. This convention, the convention center of the city of San Jose.
Yeah.
Well, they had to deal with it for the rest of the weekend, so
I can imagine.
it wasn't that great.
How bad was Friday?
Friday, I got there around 10:30. I got my badge at 2:30.
That's nuts.
Are you kidding me?
No, and the sad part is we had to have our badges for Artist Alley in order to check in, and Artist Alley opened at 3.
Because we had to work late. Toby got called off for work stuff, so he actually ended up missing the whole. You wanted to go down and pick up your pass on Friday, but you were going to get there after they shut down, and then you got called away for the weekend. So Toby missed the whole thing.
Yep, no go.
We went from having a night and a full day there to nothing because we just couldn't get our passes at all. There was
I got to
nothing
see the
available.
Dark Convention Center.
and a lot of people dressed up.
Yeah.
But so Lane, so I went Sunday and Monday. I was there pretty much all Sunday and Monday, and even Sunday. I mean, it's packed. That place gets busy as hell. There's a lot of people there, and there's a long weekend. So even Monday, it was still a good crowd the whole day. And when it shut down, a buddy of mine just crashed on the floor, and we just watched 10,000 people walk past us as they were all leaving. Just people watching, and yeah. But I mean, it was a good crowd. What you notice anything different this year? Everything seemed kind of normal.
There was definitely a bigger crowd in the Artist Alley, and of course, everybody complained about the waiting lines.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of, a little ridiculous. Like, if you're just picking up the badges, why is it taking that long? I mean, you were in the actual line.
Yes.
So what actually went through? Did they look at your ID and
Yeah, they look at your ID and they check your ID against the printout you have.
Which
from
is fine.
email.
That's normal, right? But why did it take 3-4 hours to do, or how long?
I think the biggest problem was they only had about 7 people processing all the people in line at the end
Oh wow.
of the line.
Okay, I see. Yeah,
They needed to have more people with the badges.
No, I would do it. Yeah, 7 people is not enough.
So they had 7 for the pre-reg. They had about 7 for registration on site. Even on site registration took about 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, because I figured there would be more people pre-reg. Because I saw a lot of people with their official badges. So those aren't the pre-reg, or that's the pre-reg and the members. That's not the on-site reg.
Right.
So I saw most people had those, but maybe it just felt like they did. So.
Well, it's based on when you registered. Also, if you registered in like the last 2 or 3 weeks, you also got the cheesy paper one.
Oh, okay. Well, it's cool. Fanime was pretty fun. I mean, I don't know, Lane, what you got to do. I mean, I walked around about a few things, and I went to I went to one panel. I didn't get to too many panels, but it's a fun time. I like going every year. It's different than comic books, and than WonderCon, or God knows if we're getting that back. And I mean, I like that San Jose. They seem to like it. I think.
Yeah.
It gets a good crowd. One thing, and I don't know if you've noticed this. When I started going back more regularly, which I think was like 3 or 4 years ago, it felt like the crowd was, as always happens, very young.
Yes, they're getting younger and younger, it seems like.
Are they?
It does seem like it attracts more younger and younger groups.
Because to me...
So are they actually younger, or are we getting older?
Well,
is it different?
Well, here's what it felt like to me. I felt like everyone... When I went the first year, the first time I went, when I started going regularly a couple years ago, was like 14. Now I feel like everyone's 18. I feel like the average age aged as I've gone to the con, and I don't actually see too many 14-year-old kids there. It seems like the majority of them have it's almost like we're not getting new people to the convention. It's the same people that have been going.
They're getting a lot of new younger people.
Yeah.
I've noticed. They're getting a lot of high schoolers nowadays.
Yeah, I see a lot of high schoolers there,
especially
too.
with the cosplay stuff.
But were
love
they freshmen 4 years ago, and now they're seniors? See that, because it felt to me, again, I've been going for, I think this is my 4th year that I'm going since I kind of took a break, and I just, maybe I'm totally off base, but it felt to me that it was But again, maybe Friday and Saturday is a little bit of a different crowd because I was only there Sunday and Monday. So maybe that's more hardcore to stay for the whole weekend.
No, Friday, Saturday are the biggest days because of the concert and the masquerade.
And that's what I'm saying. Maybe the Friday, Saturday crowd is a little bit different than the Sunday and Monday crowd. But it felt to me that the age was actually a little bit older than it was.
Well, if you go by average age,
Yeah.
I think you're okay on the average age.
Yeah.
But I just noticed there's more and more younger. I mean, there's on the opposite ends. There's more and more younger and more older people that are attending. So it's keeping the average in the same area. But I am seeing more.
The guys are getting creepier and creepier every year they go.
Last year or 2 years ago, myself and Jeff, we went to this anime fans over 30 panel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I got to check this out because I was like 31 or 32, I think. And
you felt really.
I was 20.
Yourself,
I was 29.
I was waiting for you to go back to 29 plus a couple weird years.
It was us who were like 30, 31, right at the border, a couple other people, and then everyone else was like 60. There was no one in between.
Sounds like Bacon.
And they were like the OG fans, right? You know, these guys were the originals. No one else. And then like, okay, now the 90s fandom is starting to creep into their 30s.
So this was like real swappers?
What?
Instead of tape swappers, these were real swappers?
These were like the guys that like actually like went to Japan and were there and taken like film reel, not just VHS.
It was like Carl Masick was in the crowd.
Totally that group. Yeah. So.
Well, if you want to feel old, try signing up for the speed dating.
Oh, jeez.
Whoa.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to see that.
Now I made this joke in the Geek Box as well, but it's a good enough joke, so I'll tell it here too. Jeff, he went to the dance thing. Him and his.
Oh, I want to see Jeff doing the speed dating. Actually, that'd be kind of entertaining.
Him and his female friend went to this dance thing, and she was complaining about like 14-year-olds dancing, trying to dance with her and stuff. And I was like, what they really need to do is if you are 17 and under, your badge, but the badge is red. If you're like 18 to 20, it's yellow, and if you're 21 and up, just green. Just you're good to go.
Can I just say that I'm kind of disturbed that you're trying to game this whole age system here?
No, because it's like
it has a practical purpose. He may sound like he's being crazy, but it does have a practical purpose.
the red means no. The red means stop. Like don't approach.
Don't go look at him.
Yeah.
Don't check him out.
They can't be looking at this type of stuff, so on and so forth. The green, that's just party central, man.
Okay, well,
21 up, good to go.
Yeah.
well,
exactly.
what you do? Okay, so this year I didn't go, but the last few years I've been. All you do is go to the second floor and just watch all the girls dance on the stage, and then no touch, and it's okay. Just looking.
Yeah. Well, they do have like the rave. They do card you.
Is it actually 21 up or 18 up?
I think it's 18 up.
Is
yeah.
it?
Probably
Yeah.
18.
Yeah. But still.
They
But
have
it's
a
not
rave. They have a rave at Fanime.
I believe there's 2 this year. Yeah.
And they have like a black.
Not in the desert, but at the Fanime.
Yes. They have a
A
ballroom.
real rave.
Well, as real as you can get. And they have like a black and white ball, and they have like a masquerade ball. I mean, they have like official dance events and then like rave dance events with a bunch of crappy techno, I'm sure. So.
Well, you guys have talked about the age group, and I can actually attest to this a little bit working at a high school, is that I do see the library having to stock more manga comic books, and there's a lot more interest in manga comic books, and also the kids are walking around kind of doing cosplay.
Well, I think what's happened, and the reason I was questioning that is because we haven't seen things like Cartoon Network taking up Toonami. I mean, they just brought Toonami back, so maybe this will be a thing. But at midnight, plenty of 12-year-old kids are awake watching TV.
Yeah, it's going to be the cool thing to do. Ooh,
Right.
Watching cartoon at midnight.
But I mean, especially for like myself and Charlie here, and I guess all of us really, stuff like the afternoon cartoons when Dragon Ball Z was running and the Toonami stuff, and that was more accessible to kids. And so that's why I kind of was thinking maybe we kind of missed a gap. And that's why I was thinking maybe the crowd was getting a little bit older, but could be totally wrong. They're probably just all watching it on the internet, and all the girls are downloading Yaoi, and all the boys are watching horrible tentacle rape porn, and there you go.
High School of the Dead.
Whoa, easy, Ryan, easy.
That's what kids do.
Watch your
right?
language.
That's what kids do.
Yeah, pretty much. They want to go on the computer and look up stupid shit.
Well, one thing I've noticed just from sort of the accessibility of anime nowadays is between like Hulu and Netflix and even Saturday morning cartoons like the CW or whatever still has replays of Dragon Ball Z going on
For
there.
sure.
And whoever knows how many versions of Yu-Gi-Oh! They're on now. And
But even like the big ones, like Naruto and
Pokemon,
One Piece, and Bleach, and those guys are like 10 years old now, 10 years plus, and Pokemon's like 12 years, 13 years or something. So
I think it went through a couple of generations at this point.
No, they absolutely have.
I remember my sister really getting into Pokemon when she was like, I think 10 or something, or 9, and was like, there's kids into it now, and there's a completely different generation. She's out,
I found it kind of interesting I almost feel like Dragon Ball Z burnt out a certain amount of anime fans just on how long it went. Just because I'm noticing after that one successfully finished, like One Piece could only go on so long before it kind of fell off normal network television.
Is it that over 9,000?
What?
Is it that over 9,000 thing?
Yeah. The thing with Dragon Ball, I think Dragon Ball didn't turn people into anime fans. I think people that watch Dragon Ball just watch Dragon Ball. I don't get that it translated a lot of people into more kind of, or transferred people into like more fandom stuff.
I just find it kind of interesting that most of my favorite series tend to be around the either 26 episode mark or 52 episode mark.
Yeah. That's standard for most.
Yeah,
season
but I've watched a number of these like really high number episode series now, and a lot of them I ended up having to go to like Hulu to continue watching because it got dropped from Cartoon Network or dropped from Adult Swim, or like the original Naruto was on Cartoon Network until they just dropped it. I don't even know what episode it was on, but they made it through a good chunk and they just dropped it, and now like Shippuden got picked up by Nickelodeon or something.
I think what happened to Bleach as well, didn't it?
Yeah. A lot of these, I know like Lupin had trouble getting a significant enough audience to keep going on Cartoon Network.
And they're really expensive too. The American companies pay the royalties and the production rights to do them here. Then they have to dub them, and it's not cheap. So
I found it interesting that I think, other than sort of like the typical examples of stuff that reinvents itself every once in a while, like Power Rangers and Pokemon, and those seem to sort of do okay as long as, and that may be also part of the reason why you see more reinventing of even American shows nowadays to keep them going. But the shows that just sort of continue on the path past that like 100 episode mark seem to die on American TV.
Well, that's not standard for us.
Yeah, I think it's the fillers that do it, because I love Naruto, and early on I loved it, and when all the fillers came in and turned into Dragon Ball, I was like, oh, come on, dude.
Yeah, I'm like 50 episodes into Naruto, and I'm really enjoying it, but I know that bad part is coming.
Like around 70 or 80, I think that's when he is getting really harder to watch. And it's kind of funny, because I was always more a Saint Seiya guy than I was a Dragon Ball guy. But, I loved the early Dragon Ball stuff. But when you turn into C and all those giant fights, it took like 15 episodes to happen. I'm like, come on. I'm like, seriously, come on. Especially when one episode is one punch. I'm like, come on.
That's like a Joseph Loeb Wolverine Sabretooth fight, right?
Well, keep them away from anime.
There's a lot of great anime manga out there, and I think that some of our audience that may not be aware of the stuff or have ever seen any of it, we occasionally recommend stuff on here that we're reading or watching or whatever. And I would like to now take this time and have us all kind of talk about something that we've seen or read, and want to kind of tell people that, hey, you should check this out. So, Brock, I know
anime manga.
Well, I know, and I know you haven't seen much, so you feel free to skip. Feel free to just say Akira, stock answer, done, move on. But of the ones you've seen, what's your favorite? And I have your answer if you want it. So,
what's my answer?
Your answer is Princess Mononoke.
Well, probably for the most reason that it's easily accessible. It's a really good story.
Yeah.
It's
a competent English dub,
exactly,
for people that aren't into subtitles.
And it's a fun overall film. So yeah, I would have to go with that.
And you love Claire Danes, right?
Fuck yeah, she's hot. But it's one of those things where you guys were talking about all the like the Voltron and stuff like that, and there's been so many different incarnations of that, and I think the reason I kind of missed the anime train was because I was the guy that watched The Mighty Orbots, which was a really bad American version of that, and I loved that show. So I think that's why I kind of skipped over the anime train, when I was younger, as I was watching the bad American versions.
There's plenty of bad American versions.
But,
are you also saying that, like, like the hardcore violence for you is a plane exploding and you always see a parachute coming out.
Yeah. See, that's
well, and Brock, you mentioned this before. Growing up, your parents were very strict.
Yeah,
so that probably had a lot to do. with it as
well. My cartoon experience was like Smurfs and Gummy Bears and G.I. Joe and Transformers and kind of really just.
That was all there for me too. So I had an extraordinary amount of cartoons for some reason in my.
But for me, it was I was also competing with the TV with two other brothers. One that's close in age to me and one that wasn't close in age to me. So it was. I think that's
forced to watch the youngest. Thing.
Yeah. So it's kind of for me. It was more along the lines. I think that's why I moved towards books because I could leave the room and read.
Yeah.
So
excellent.
But yeah, and Princess Mononoke is a great place to start, and I think that that Akira, Ghost in the Shell, all of those are good recommendations. Your weird friends recommend Wicked City. But
Princess Mononoke is one of the Miyazaki movies from Studio Ghibli, and they're all released here by Disney.
Yeah.
So very easy to find, very accessible. All of them are all ages friendly, appropriate for kids for the most part. A little scary stuff here and there, but nothing, no gore, no blood, or anything crazy.
Can even find most of them on Blu-ray.
Yeah, they're slowly started to release them on Blu-ray, which I've heard they look amazing. So I'm real curious to check those out, and probably, arguably the most high quality anime that's probably ever been produced comes from these guys.
Yeah.
So that's.
I have to add in. If anybody here ever has a chance to find them themselves in Japan, please do you a favor and go to the Studio Ghibli Museum.
Oh yeah,
it's fantastic place. I was just my jaw was on the floor when I went there. It's first of all, I bought a ticket as well as a local, so I had to get a Japanese person to help me buy a ticket because you go to 7-Eleven, you have to go to this weird machine, you have to press things, and you have to actually pick which time you're gonna go because I have certain times you have to get out by a certain time too. So and there's only certain days you could buy it for. As a tourist, you supposedly could go all day, but since I didn't buy it outside the country I have to go with the Japanese rules. And then when you go there's like a special Studio Ghibli bus. So you get off like the JR line and you go down.
Is it the Totoro bus?
Yeah, it was like this cool bus. I want to know it's not the cat bus, but it's this bus. They're like, so I'm like asking them, I'm like, okay, well, how do I know which bus I have to get on? They go, trust me. You will know, right? So you get off the JR line, you go down the stairs, and you go, holy fuck, the brightest freaking bus is it. It's like little characters on the bus and stuff like that. They take you to the museum. You have to wait till, you have 5 minutes till you go in. And when you go in, it is like another world. It's like you almost step into the cartoon, into the world of Studio Ghibli. There's artwork all over the walls to tell you how to do their animation. There's a monotrope, when, it's the little twisty thingies that starts animating himself.
Oh yeah.
The interior design is just totally like if it was the cartoon in real life. Like it's just super cool. The amounts of paper they use. They have like a glass shelf. They show you all the artwork they did, and they just pile out all the papers up. And there's like this massive amount of paper, just massive amounts of artwork. It's just cool place, and there's like little places for kids. Up on top, you could go on the roof. There's like a little garden on top that has the robot from Nausicaa. No, is it Nausicaa? Which one? Laputa. The castle in the sky. Laputa. Yeah, it's in the top. That was really cool. And then at the end of the tour, and so it's all timed, right? So, no pictures allowed. I tried to do some undercover ones, but man, you're just dying in there. You go, I want to take pictures of everything, but you're not allowed to. You just have to come back. And at the end, you get to watch a exclusive cartoon. You go into this like theater, and it's really cool. And you watch like a exclusive short film. And
nice.
I heard there's a rumor. Not the one I got to see was like a bug one, like at a pond. But there's a rumor there's a Totoro sequel where it's about the baby cat bus, and I'm like, fuck, I really want to see that one too. So, but and after that they let you leave and then put the next group in. But it's really really cool. So I guess that's my pick since I already went on with this. So,
the museum.
My pick is the museum. Yeah,
I really wish that 7-Elevens were that cool here,
dude.
All we get is a big gulp.
Yeah, and they sell comics.
Sometimes you get themed cups with like Avengers.
True, no, you're right about that. And like burnt old hot dogs.
They didn't get Avengers. They had Iron Man, though.
We didn't get Avengers?
Well, we can get Toby, you can have a random quick pick. when we get to you. Or you don't have to, it's fine.
Too many, but I guess I'll go with Slam Dunk because I think it's the most awesomest cartoon ever. But
It's about basketball.
yeah, I might be biased, but I love basketball. But also, I feel like that cartoon is written for me because even my sister looked at the manga and she goes, "Dude, this is you and your friends." It's like the bigger guy is Kenny, that's Jack. That's literally like each one of your friends is written in that book, and it's I really relate to it, and even if you're not into basketball, I highly recommend it. And it's a guy that plays basketball because he's in love with a chick who's in love with the captain. No, she's in love with the best player on the team, but then the captain of the team is the chick's older brother. So there's crazy storylines are going on.
Sure,
But it's a really, really good manga/anime.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
Omar.
Well, I kind of brought up Samurai Champloo before, but so this is by the same makers of Cowboy Bebop,
Yes,
and
yes.
I missed Cowboy Bebop, but I heard it was just the
Shinichiro
most
Watanabe.
incredible.
You've
Incredible.
never seen Cowboy Bebop?
I watched a few episodes.
What?
Yeah.
Oh
One of my
God.
ex girlfriends was like all about that shit and saying, go for it. But there's always something that you want to see. There's always something in the queue, Anyway, Summer
That's
Champloo.
not something you should put in the queue, man.
Summer
I'm sorry,
Champloo,
dude.
why? Because it's just like fucking Nujabes. That's all I gotta say. So Seba Jun, he's like one of the most incredible, rest in peace, incredible hip hop producers, in Japan. He passed away a year and a half ago, and he mixes jazz and 90s style hip hop, which is just like there's very few people that have done that. I mean, here we have Pete Rock, we have Premier, mostly East Coast side, but in throughout the anime, I forget how many episodes there were, but they had all these different tracks. The soundtrack, I still have the soundtrack, and I still listen to it regularly on my phone. So it has Nujabes on it, has Fat John. And Suikiji, I think. Oh, Shingo 2. He's incredible lyricist. The dude speaks perfect English when he's rapping, but he doesn't really speak a lick of English in everyday life. But of course, so what's good about it? I said it was based in the Edo period. But it's you're walking around and you have rival crews, and the rival clans are pretty much coming up, and they they can it hits the music and feels like Beat Street meets some Seven Samurai. Straight up. That's what it's like. But of course, it has a cute little chick. She's a little bar hostess, and she brings them together, and her little boobies jump around every other episode. And but the guys are always about fight. I think my favorite character was Mugen.
Yeah.
Mugen was the dude with the big old.
You gotta like Mugen.
Yeah, big old.
You
fro.
gotta like the way he'd fight.
Those cool ass fucking wooden slippers, and you can't walk in that shit. I tried,
but Mugen can.
Yes, he can. Oh, for manga, so that was my anime pick. Manga, definitely Nausicaa. I read that in Japanese. It took me a long, long time. So I went back and learned Japanese, later in life. Studied for 5 years, and that is my first actual manga I've read from top to bottom, or from right to left, and incredible. Definitely Prince Mononoke is up there, but just the whole message, environmental, save the earth, we're a part of something bigger, all that kind of shit. Just Miyazaki.
Yeah.
Boom.
Lane. What you got?
Well, I guess I'll go with manga instead of anime.
What?
No,
Go with it,
actually, my favorite is actually Sanctuary. It's I read it every year. I have to reread that thing. It was printed by Viz in the U.S. It's 10 volumes, I think. And the art's by Ikigami, which is the guy from Crying Freeman. I love his art. It's paneling, and then just the story is it's an amazing story. It's basically about two men who grew up in Cambodia during wartime who came back to Japan and realized we're going to fix Japan because they realized that Japan was being ruled by all these old farts, and they decided all these people are basically isolating Japan. They decided to bring in new young blood and ideology into the world. So they play Rochambeau. And one guy becomes a politician, the other guy goes in the underworld, and they rise to the ranks like crazy. It's a smart thriller kind of series. It's not your typical hero kind of thing. I mean, they will go for guts, and it's just amazing how it just spins around everywhere. Where you think, oh well, now I've got a grip on what's going to happen. Oh no, it turns again because now you're in the underground, the Yakuza world, and then you have the politicians screwing each other over, and it's just an amazing series. I absolutely love that series. And
nice.
They actually did a They translated it into a live action movie for one episode. Well, although the movie only covers the first book.
I was going to say I thought that was the case, but I didn't know if that was supposed to be the same thing. But I never seen it. But I was wondering if that's the same plot.
Who was in it? Huh? Who was in the film?
In the live action film?
Yeah.
You
no
probably
idea.
won't know. They're all Japanese actors.
Yeah.
Probably there's one famous guy. He's been in a lot of more recent films. He was in Chocolate, and as the father, he was in that film. I actually have it at home. I had to get a VHS copy just so I can burn it to a DVD.
Nice.
Just so I have that film. 'Cause I love that series.
Nice.
Now, the guy who did Slam Dunk and also does Vagabond, the one that Lane likes, is Inu. There's a really good documentary on him on like YouTube. You could find it on YouTube. It's fantastic. It's just him going through the process of how he writes, how he thinks about the characters and stuff like that, and how he goes, does his thing. He goes little, coffee shops and he starts writing, and he gets frustrated when he gets a writer's block. And fantastic little documentary to watch.
Did you say coffee shops?
Not those kind of coffee
okay.
shops. It's actually a dude that writes.
Maid cafes.
You wanted it to get on this episode, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's no. I really do recommend. And I mean, Lane can attest. It's really good documentary on this guy, and it's fantastic to watch.
Nice. Charlie.
So I have a few different ones poking around my head, but I'm just going to go with Trigun because I love Trigun.
I think when I first met you or around that time, I think I remember you being really into
Yes.
Trigun.
I actually remember that too.
To the point where I had you order me a Vash statue through the shop way back when.
I seem to remember that.
Yes, I still have that statue.
And here's my Omar moment. I've still never seen Trigun. I need to.
Neither have I, actually. Well, I watched the first couple of them. I just couldn't get into it, actually.
Here's the thing about Trigun, and I realized this by trying to show it to my friend Jess. Either you appreciate the sort of mix between seriousness or humor, or if you're not into that style of humor, it ruins it for you. And for me, that's one of the big strengths of that particular series is you can see why he acts the way he does, especially as you kind of look at it. Basically, the story is the most wanted man in the world kind of goes around as a complete and total goofball. So everybody who looks at him goes, is that him? And then he falls over himself somewhere and people go, no, there's no way that could be him.
Well, I think my problem is when I was working at Legend and Trigun was a big thing. First of all, I was like, Cowboy Bebop all the way, forget everything else, and Outlaw Star all the way, forget everything else. But there was a dude that was a hardcore fan.
It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you, for sure, because I think we have a hard time being friends right now, because there's a dude that came in dressed up, fully clothed from top to bottom in Trigun gear, and the dude smelled, like, big time, right?
Like it smelled good?
No, like in...
Like you want to sniff him really close?
The other way.
Was it Fanime Weekend, or was it just on the...
No, he would come in regularly to buy his Trigun stuff, and I think he just freaked me the hell off with this Trigun stuff. I'm like, no. Keep me away from it all. And the guy was a little weird too on top of it, so it doesn't help.
A little weird on top of it?
A little weird.
Now, have you ever seen him since?
Not at this shop, but he came in for a regular.
Have you ever smelled him since?
Because
obviously the scent is really it's a
common
key
scent.
thing for you.
It's a common, and maybe not that specific one because this is a special scent.
It's a special one.
It was a
If you ever
special
smelled
scent.
it again, you'd run.
It's like he burned paint and he put it on his underneath his eyes or something. I don't know. I was like, it was bizarre.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question. I don't know if anybody knows. There's this Scholastic book called Amulet.
Okay.
That kids really seem to be into right now. I don't know, Lane, you're shaking your head like you know what
I've heard
talking about.
It's done by the guy who did the shooting. I'm blanking on the whole series of anthologies. Kazuo Kabuichi.
Oh. Is it
Way to string that together like that.
This is it's like an American thing? That he's
He's doing it for the American audience.
Yeah,
I haven't heard of this.
The 5th book comes out in September. It's slated in the new previews. The only reason I know this is because my girlfriend's niece was reading it and really into it, and so she's up to book 4, and she can't wait for the one that I wrote in the special order.
There you go. Nice.
So I don't know if anybody knew about it or if,
No.
Yeah, I've read about it. I've heard a lot of good things about it. It's more of a younger ages kind of Harry Potterish kind of genre.
Yeah.
You don't with that, Trigun, Charlie?
Yeah, pretty much. Just love the series, love the visuals,
One thing
love the
on
big
Trigun,
ass
though.
gun.
Yeah.
If you want to get these guys into Trigun, try Badland Rumbles.
Yeah,
They made a movie.
I fully
they
want to watch it. It's
Finally
just
made a movie after how many years was it after the series? Like
10
10
or 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy. They finally did a Trigun movie.
well, Trigun was so big. Like, why wait? But I guess is it one of those things like Cowboy Bebop, which is just it was never popular in Japan. It was only popular
No, it was
here.
very
No, it was
Trigun was?
Yeah,
Okay.
hugely popular.
Okay.
I mean, it became one of those things that, like, when they did Gungrave and that kind of stuff, they're like, from the producers of Trigun.
Yeah.
A lot of it was the fact that, like Naruto, the manga or the anime came out too fast. They caught up with the series before the creator got there.
Right.
Is what happened. So, like, they finished the Trigun anime before he had even finished writing the first, like, major books. So even the ending was changed a little.
Yeah.
There's a lot more in depth in the books.
No,
And that's also what
Trigun's the blonde guy with the coat.
red coat,
The red
yeah.
coat. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
or
Hey,
Fascist
look,
Stampede.
look at
Yes.
you. Look at you. You know something, Brock.
Ryan, I'm gonna be so disappointed if you don't say Sailor Moon.
I've watched every episode of Sailor Moon. When there was DVDs were coming out, I bought them for my girlfriend. They now go. They were in print for like half a minute. They go for like $500 a box set now, and we
Shut
lost
up.
them all in our fire.
I brought you a bunch of those for your girlfriend.
What was that?
I brought you a bunch of those for your girlfriend.
Did you?
Yeah.
I got some of them through here. Did you get me the rest of them or something?
There was a comic shop that was going out of business. That
Oh, it was like one we missed or something, or two we.
I was there and they had a bunch of the Sailor Moon DVDs, so I just literally grabbed what was there and I'm like, here you go, Ryan.
Yeah, I think because we got the rest of them. But yeah, no, those are worth a ton of money. No, I mean, there was a whole bunch I want to suggest. There was actually even a couple of recent things. There was a movie called Redline that came out. It came out here this year, but I actually, the thing I wanted to recommend was a manga I just started. I'm about halfway through, so maybe it ends crappily, but I don't know. I've heard everyone says it's fantastic, so I will assume the second half is as good as the first half. And that is a manga series called Pluto by Naoki Urasawa, who I've seen. I haven't read his book yet, but there was a series called 20th Century Boys that was turned into 3 movies. I saw those. He did another anime and manga series called Monster. This is one of his other ones. This may be kind of like recommending The Watchmen of manga. I mean, I know this is a really popular series, and a lot of people I know say Pluto is one of the best mangas I've ever read. But it's probably a lot of people that are U.S. fans that have never heard of this. Again, like the ones Lane was talking about, this is not a standard manga. No big eyes, no Sailor Moons, no 20-episode fight scenes. It's actually based on a episode of Astro Boy, which was Osamu Tezuka, who was basically created the concept of manga and anime as we know it today. Most people should know Astro Boy. He's like the Mickey Mouse of Japan, right? I mean, this is a huge character over there, and we got some of it here.
And he's named Toby in the American cartoon.
Right.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Is Adam, right? Mighty Adam, or what's
Yo,
the
Adam Boy? No, I think it's called Astro Boy here, right?
No, it's called Astro Boy here, but like Tetsuo Adam, right? Isn't that his Japanese name?
Nicolas Cage calls my name all the time in that movie.
But it's actually based around a robot. So they basically took this one episode where it's just a kind of a bunch of robots, fighting to see who's the greatest robot on Earth. And he turned it into an 8-part detective story where there's this robot going around killing other robots, or something is going around killing the mightiest robots on Earth, including Astro Boy. Toby, you may actually know how to pronounce this better than I will because it's German. Geschichte, it's German for face. He's like the head robot of this like detective for this police force in Germany. For like the Europol, it's like a European.
Are you describing Watchmen?
Yeah, not. Well, no. So this manga is like half Silence of the Lambs and half like Blade Runner, right? With maybe a little Watchmen thrown in. Sure, it does not follow like the standard tropes of anime at all. And so this guy is trying to track down this mysterious figure is killing like the greatest robots on Earth. Every nation kind of has a robot that does these things, and robots are common household devices that everyone has and everyone uses, and they do a lot of the back and forth, like like in Blade Runner, like do robots have souls? Are they real people? Are they human? There's like the one robot that's ever killed a person is kind of being held all like Silence of the Lambs style, and he's like constantly going back to this robot, kind of talking to him, trying to figure out like what's going on.
Are these robots real dolls?
Not too far. I mean, they talk about some of that stuff too. They go into all, that there are some robots that look like murdering machines, and there are some robots that look like Rosie from the Jetsons, and then but the rest of them you can't even tell they're human or that they're not human.
Okay,
all right. Astro Boy looks exactly like a human. Everyone thinks he's a human, and then he walks through like the non-human entrance, and people are like, "Kid, you can go through that door," and he's like, "But I'm a robot." Super amazingly detailed, like a lot of anime, like a lot of manga. The detail tends to be more in the scenes when they're doing the city scenes and the flowers and the backgrounds are friggin' amazing. They tend to be, when it's the characters, a little lesser quality on the. I don't say lesser quality, but it's not as detailed in every panel, because they have these great opening panels in every scene that are just amazing background. This guy's an incredible artist as well as writer. I'm super excited to finally be getting through this. I've been putting off 20th Century Boys because it's really long. It's like up to volume 18 or 19 now. But Pluto's the one that I've been wanting to get into for a while.
If Charlie and I can get through 20-some-odd volumes of Ultimate Spider-Man, I think he can get through.
I haven't started it yet. So my manga reading recently has been almost non-existent. So I'm pushing to finally, because I watch a decent amount of anime still. But I've been pushing to actually get through some manga, and this is the one I've been wanting to read for a while. And so far, it has blown me away. It's so amazing, and I'm really excited to finish through it. I'm going to try to finish up the next few days. So
Dope.
Probably talk about it a little bit more then.
So, are we going to answer the question?
What's the question?
Is Usagi Yojimbo considered?
Yeah, I was kind of actually thinking if that would come up a little bit more naturally through the conversation, but one of our forum members, Kenzo, had a pretty humorous conversation.
Sorry, Kenzo, we didn't talk about any of the new stuff. I tried to watch. I didn't have time. I'll get to it though.
He basically kind of had this rundown on the forum, and I should just pull it up and read it directly. But he was basically saying like, look, it's all the same, Stan Sakai is Japanese, right? I mean, he's making it in America, but he's Japanese, so is it anime or is it manga? There's a guy that won one of Tokyo Pop's, which is a manga distributor here, one of their new rising stars of manga, which is all like English language creators doing manga style in America. And this guy got hired by Japanese companies. Now he's over in Japan doing manga and anime. So it's like that line is kind of blurring. So, is it? I mean, who knows?
Well, in truth, the line was never really there to begin with. It is just comics and cartoons just from different regions and different countries, different places. But it's all in the end the same thing.
It's a line created by the fans, not by, I would say, less so the industry. Because you look at stuff like, especially shows like Thundercats, and I think Korra has a fair amount of Japanese creators working involved. And Thundercats is a completely...
a lot of Koreans and a lot of...
the animation's totally not even done in Japan or the United States for that matter. So what is it?
But then so is also the new Ninja Turtle cartoon. Not the new one that's coming, but the last one was Korean done, so...
Yeah, I mean, our favorite American cartoon right now, Young Justice, a lot of that's in Korea.
Is it Korean too?
Yeah, what isn't? So...
One thing I kind of want to bring up, just because this just popped into my head, but I remember watching the commentary on Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, where they were talking about the scene where they have the motorcycle scene with the laser chasing after him through the city.
Oh, that totally like Akira style, huh?
That was done by the guy who did the chase scene in Akira.
Really?
The same scene? Look, I'm going to hire you for that scene.
We want you to do the same thing. He got type animated.
Maybe that's what anime and manga is it's animation or type art.
All right, well then that's all it is. It's animation and comic books. I mean, it's all the same. So if you like the American stuff, there's a ton of stuff worth checking out. A lot of not a lot of it. A good amount gets published here by Dark Horse Comics, by Viz Comics. There's a couple other companies that publish some of the more adult stuff, but there's a decent amount of it gets here. And I mean, you have the internet. People fan sub and fan translate stuff all the time. I mean, a lot of stuff just does not get released here, so there's no legal way to buy it or watch it. So there's always ways to check stuff out, and there's a lot of anime and manga forums out there where you can go around and ask people.
I also recommend
some
maybe not going for what you usually used to. I mean, what I tend to be gravitated to in manga and anime is things that I'm not reading in my Ultimate Spider-Man book, not reading in my DC books.
Well, there is very little, if any, superhero.
Yeah.
I actually just started watching a show called Tiger and Bunny that came out a year or two ago, right?
What?
I've only seen the first episode. Amazing show.
Is it?
It's a superhero show. It's a show about American-style superheroes in Japan on a reality show. But it's genius, Brock. Great animation, too.
You're watching something that's based on reality TV?
It's not, but
you don't watch Big Bang Theory?
It's about superheroes. It's Japanese, so it's fine.
Kim Kardashian's a superhero in my book.
Super booby.
Somebody should beat you.
But I mean, but it just has more kind of in line with the Sentai shows and stuff than it even does American superheroes. There's so few American superheroes in Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, Dragon Ball,
I don't even think it's close.
No, it's not. But I mean. Your weird powers, and that's about as close as you get. For every American superhero that flies, there's a Japanese superhero that has psychic powers, right? I mean, that's the big thing. They love their psychics over there for some reason.
Yeah.
I think especially if you're bored with American superheroes, there is so much manga out there.
Here's my thing though. For guys that are more into indie books here, they read the Scott Pilgrim more. Or some of the other stuff. There's so much in manga that there's to be discovered.
Yeah, it's not all Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
I heate to say it, that's part of the downside to trying to figure out which series you want to give a try.
Just because there's so much out there.
It's literally walk to that section and you go to a bookstore and they have one shelf for standard graphic novels.
Well, I think we're at a time.
You go to the manga section and it's
it's just massive. Yeah, but I think we're at a time where it's trimming down. I mean, I remember when mangas blew up here in the States and just anything got licensed. I mean, all the Korean stuff got licensed. Anything that's not even, wasn't even from Japan got licensed. They were just pumping them up. And there was I hate to say it, there was so much fluff, so much garbage. It's just filling up bookshelves of fluff. It was cool art, but it was really not much to it. So I think we're at a point where, we kind of went, we don't even really, carry too much manga here. I mean, the fad's kind of been gone, and I think the companies are still existing and concentrating on the good stuff now. It's no longer, Tokyo Pop going, we're going to publish anything that we possibly can just to get as much money as we can.
What a surprise, because nothing sold.
I'm not sure that the fad really kind of went away. I mean, as Brock was saying, it started to show up in even high school libraries and that kind of stuff. I kind of just feel that it spread without limit for a little too long there. I mean, the point I was making before about how you go to the graphic novel section and you see one shelf of standard superhero graphic novels versus you go to the manga section and it's shelf after shelf after shelf after shelf after shelf.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing harder. When you looked at comic shops during this explosion. It was they started carrying all these different series and they were doing really well, and then they started showing up in Borders, and it really became very easily accessible for the general public, when I don't feel like the majority of the general public were going out and looking for it. So it kind of had this normal, it's exploding, and now it's kind of figuring out exactly where it fits.
Well, I think also it's one of those things where, Ryan, you're talking about reading Pluto and really enjoying it and so on and so forth. And Toby, I know you've talked about the Avatar comic books that you've read and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of good manga out there, but I don't think...
But see, that's American. Well, not that we really have to categorize.
Yeah, but it's one of those things Lane, you were talking about Sanctuary, and it sounds really, really interesting to me. It sparks Scalped and DMZ and all of these titles. I'm ooh, I might want to check this out. But it's one of those things where, like you said, there's a difficulty getting some of this stuff, but there's also kind of anime and manga is one of those things that you kind of have to work up to a recommendation. Whereas you walk into a comic store, what do you recommend? This, and this. Whereas what manga do you recommend? Well, I don't know where you you fall in, where you're going to, whether it's
Well,
a Princess
actually,
Mononoke
no. Well, however, let's
but-
rephrase it. What if a guy comes in and go, "I don't like mainstream comics. What do you recommend?" It's kind of in that pool.
Yeah,
it's kind of in the same pool right there.
it gets lumped into, well, what do you recommend that's not mainstream? I mean,
and then you go, "Well, what is your thing?" Because anything's possible.
I had this experience actually the last Sunday I worked. I had a guy who came in who literally only really liked comics that had sort of the could happen in real life flair to him, and it took me a while to kind of narrow this down that that's actually what he was looking for. Just sort of, he wasn't looking for over the top powers. He was looking for just sort of, I mean, I hate to kind of lump this into there, but he would like more stuff like Criminal and stuff that's just a little more
pulp,
down to earth pulp. And yeah, it's always interesting when you're trying to narrow down, well, if you don't like this, well, how about this? No, not really into that. Well, how about that?
Well, here's the funny thing, and I mean, I love superhero comics, so I don't want to sound like I don't, because obviously I do. But it's always hilarious when people call Marvel and DC the mainstream because they're just the most popular. But really, to an average person, superheroes are a small, niche subject. Mainstream would be books more like Criminal, books like, Incognito, what he's doing, stuff like Brian K. Vaughan, what he does, Why the Last Man, a lot of the Vertigo stuff.
DMZ.
And, right. I mean, that would fall into a more mainstream sensibility. And I think if you took the Japanese aspect away from manga and just presented it purely as a book, there's so much more manga that would fall under mainstream categories. There's entire huge sections that are just romance books and books about relationships and just books about cooking and there's so much manga out there that falls away from what we here in America consider quote unquote mainstream comic books. So your things like Dragon Ball would get lumped in with Superman because it's in the same kind of wheelhouse, but it's not a superhero. But you know what I mean? That's almost like a weird side thing. But American superheroes have such a dominant nature in the industry that just kind of became the mainstream, even though it doesn't have mainstream sensibilities. But I mean, I totally understand, Charlie, your point of
it's comics have that superhero staple, and manga has that. I don't know what the comparable. The
shonen, the Dragon Ball, Naruto. I mean, that's the One Piece. Those are the driving forces in manga.
You get those staples with that label, so that's what people automatically gravitate towards. So it's like, oh, you read comics, so you like Batman and Superman. I'm like, yeah, but I also like Sandman, and they're like, who? And you're like, Swamp Thing. I like these other titles that just finished reading Lock and Key. Great story, awesome. I liked it.
All of Lock and Key, or just the
first one?
Yeah, Lock and Key is awesome.
But it's there's a lot more out there.
Sure.
Especially even in comics and, like you said, in manga and anime that I think get kind of lost because, again, you kind of have to feel a person out before you can recommend.
I'm really excited to start Hikaru no Go, which is
it's awesome.
I know, Toby. I know you love it.
Awesome.
It's a series about playing Go. Okay,
I watched the anime.
Yeah, again, this is a series I've been wanting to watch.
I never seen the anime, but I read all the mangas. Man, bloody good.
Yeah,
it's bloody good.
Playing
dude.
what?
Go
It's like a Japanese
kind
of
not
board
chess,
game, but it's
like the black and white.
No,
is it red and white?
No, black.
Black and white.
Sorry,
Right.
said it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah,
really good, really fantastic stuff.
I enjoyed the anime.
Yeah,
actually, with that said, since it's supposedly a comic book podcast, and the one manga that I was never able to put down and I just kind of flew through was Great Teacher Onizuka, GTO, fantastic, phenomenal book. It's about this guy who's kind of like a substitute teacher, but he's kind of a delinquent himself. But yeah, he always does the right thing for the students and for the good of the people. And it's a superhero book without the superheroes because he does the right thing.
Yeah.
But it's a total kind of a school drama thing. But yeah, he's kind of delinquent himself too, and adds a lot of humor into it. Fantastic book. I really recommend that one.
Nice.
And it's one I didn't like the anime. I couldn't watch it.
Really?
And I didn't like the live action one either. So yeah. Well, I think I watched the movie, not the Korean series, I think. There's a Korean TV show, I think. Yeah. But the manga, phenomenal.
Cool. Well, we are running super long here, but this is fun. This is a good episode. So, yeah.
It's a special episode. We're allowed for special
we're allowed
episodes.
to run a little long. So yeah, I think Lane, thank you very much for coming out. We'll have to have you on some other time when if you want.
Me.
Yeah. We'll not limit you just to Asian comic books. You can come on tech because you buy comics from us all the time. All us white comic books.
This guy can fucking draw.
Yeah. Well, what is the weirdest commission you ever got? You never answered that question.
I actually have to think about that. I don't remember.
Next time.
We'll get back to you.
Next time we'll get back. In the meantime, you can go to www.geekbox.net where you can listen to this episode and every other episode of this podcast. I actually found out that iTunes apparently only keeps the last 50 episodes
So we passed
in their database. Yeah, so we're on 60. So if you want to hear the first 10 episodes, you apparently need to go to geekbox.net and download them, which they should be up there forever. I didn't realize that they only kept 50.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I did.
Maybe some they keep and some they if there's not enough downloads, maybe they take them off after a
Yeah, I
while.
don't know.
Yeah, that might be.
But
Maybe they're just censoring you.
maybe they just hate us. So they're trying to get rid of all those old bad episodes.
We gotta
So.
get Lane back to do like a artwork
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Because
That'll be the episode I'll be quiet on.
Yeah, because
So-
Lane is the one, just for everyone to know, is
Actually,
the one that's
that
responsible for
fits.
me to collect all this artwork craziness.
That actually
Thanks,
fits.
Lane. Thanks.
But
Forever broke now.
well, you can look on that for an upcoming episode. You can also go to comicsconspiracy.biz, which is where the store's website where you can buy a bunch of stuff, and on the digital comic site, which is digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. Marvel's up there now. You can get all your DC, Marvel, Image, a lot of other companies. No Dark Horse yet. I don't know if I know Viz has an online site, but I don't know if they go through Comixology or
I thought
anything.
they were going to.
I think they just go through their own thing, and I think they go through like the Nook and the Kindle, but I don't think they have Comixology. But I could be wrong. I'll just have to look into that.
Something new to tweet about.
Yeah, I'll have to look.
What, Wiz, the comic app?
No, but I was wondering if Viz went through Comixology,
No.
but I don't think they did.
No, I think they got their own thing.
Yeah. And don't forget to listen to all other podcasts as well as on here. It was a Geek Box, the Comedy Button, Good Job Brain, and All Talk, which is our forum regular podcast from all our forum users. You can go to Conspirator Brock, which is Brock's blog, and you can read his random musings on there.
Yeah, I know.
You can go to Comics in Decline, which is Omar's blog and website. Read about some hip hop superhero stuff.
That's right.
That's what and clicks and HeroClix.
Yeah, that's right.
The Infinite Long Box is Charlie's other podcast where they talk about comic books, and you guys you've talked some manga and anime stuff on there a little bit, haven't you?
Maybe a little bit.
A little bit.
We keep going wherever the subjects take us.
Sure. Lane, do you have anything you want to plug? Do you have a website, a DeviantArt account? I mean, you plugged your group, so
DeviantArt account, but I haven't updated in like a year. I just started updating. I don't know. It's studiomuso.deviantart.com.
Spell it.
STUDIOMUSOU.
excellent. We're all on Twitter. Brock Sager, Comics of the Kind, Toby XI, Insanity and Chaos is Charlie. I'm Ryan Higgins. Ryan. Lane, I don't know if you want to give her your Twitter handle or you
don't
want
have
to
Twitter.
Pimp. No, I thought I saw you on there. You don't want to pimp a website. Or anything?
You're in my.
Good.
You're me now.
We'll get you. All right. That's a good.
They
episode.
do.
And you can also email us thecomicsconspiracy@geekbox.net, or you can go to the Geekbox forums or Geekbox main page. I'm sorry, and send us an email through the contact there.
And I just want to throw this out there. If anybody can get me Mighty Orbots episodes, because I love those.
Like
I can't find them anywhere.
Like a Warner Archive thing.
Yeah,
if they have that
something.
on
I
there.
mean, if you got it, send it my way.
ioffer.com.
Huh?
ioffer.com.
I offer.
You know, you really just want to say you want to watch Silverhawks.
I think it's on my Amazon wish list.
Oh, you got it?
No, but no. I got the first one.
Oh, okay.
I haven't watched it yet.
You were trying to make me buy that for like $5 last
Dude,
time.
$5.
Well, if you want to spend $5 on Silverhawks, that's your own damn fault. So we'll talk to everyone next week.